Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Catherine Jubman. I'm the Senior Manager of CES Technology at the American Institute of Architects. I want to thank you for taking some time this afternoon to view our webinar. We will be discussing how to enter a course into CES Dashboard. For the purposes of this webinar, everyone is on mute, and I will be giving a walkthrough, and my colleague Ramiro Solarzano, who is one of our awesome course reviewers, will also chime in at a few points. And then as we go through, feel free to use the Q&A pod to type in your questions, and we will take them once we're done with the main presentation. In any case, I'm going to get started by sharing my screen. We're going to do a walkthrough. Fantastic. So we are here on AIA.org. This is where you access CES Dashboard from. You click that login link in the upper right-hand corner. Sign yourself in. Wait a moment while it signs you in. Alrighty. So once you're signed in, you're going to land on your individual profile page. On this page, it says My Account, and it'll have your name. This is not your provider account. This is just your personal information with the AIA. You just proceed here to CE Provider, and you'll see that same tile up at the top, but underneath, you'll see your provider information in this top tile, and then Manage Courses and Report Attendance. If you are associated with more than one provider, you will have this red box here that says Select a different provider. And if you click on it, you'll get a drop-down of the other providers that you're associated with that you can choose from, and then you can work with their courses. Before we go deep into adding new courses, I'd like to just point out where you can get some resources on all of these activities. And it's in this gray tile here called Resources. The ones we have permanently linked are the How to Submit a Course, How to Add a Session, and How to Report Attendance. But by clicking on any of these links, you're taken to our CES Dashboard wiki. And it includes a number of other detailed resources on how to use CES Dashboard. And it also contains PDF copies. So if you want a PDF to refer to or a printout to refer to, you can see this click here to download PDF version. These resources include directions and screenshots. So if you get stuck at any point, you can always refer to one of these resources. All right, I'm going to go back. All right, so here we are back on the main dashboard page. I'm just going to show you here. If you have existing courses in your system and you click on Manage My Courses, you're going to get what we call the course index. And this is just a listing of all your current courses, how many and what type of credits they're approved for, when they were last updated, and what their status is. If they're approved, if they're pending approval, you can see all that basic information here. And if you clicked on the link, either of the course number or the course name, you'd be able to see all of your course details. I'm going to go back, and we're going to add a test course so that we can go through the process step by step. So you start by clicking Add a Course. In my case, I have to select the provider, but if you're only associated with one provider, this will already be filled in. The next thing is I will select my course name. All right. And next I will select my course number. A very important thing about the course number is that once you input it here and click Save, it cannot be changed. We as admins can't change it. It's just set in stone. So if you make an error in your course number and you need it changed, you'll have to resubmit the whole course in order to get the course number that you'd like. So just I recommend everyone double check that they've typed the course number in the way that they'd like it to be in the system, and then you click Save. Okay, so it's redirected us to the course page. You'll notice in the top tile that our title is here at the top, that our course number is listed below, and that our provider number is last. In each of these tiles where there is something that you can edit, you'll see this edit icon in the pencil. If you click on it, it's going to pop up a screen that will allow you to edit the information. As I mentioned, the course number field is not editable. We could update our course number, our course name, and save it. So that's available for you to make changes to, but not the course number. So, in order to submit a course, we have some required fields in this form and some optional fields. In each of these tiles, so the course at a glance, about this course, and down here, the topics, you'll notice that they are all outlined in red. They have the red exclamation point, and their edit icon is red. That means that there are required fields which have not yet been filled out. So that's your visual reference that you haven't completed all of the necessary information yet. So we're just going to start with the course at a glance information. So when you click on that, it pops up this menu. It's a long menu here with lots of options, and we're going to go through each one. Starting with, is this a nano learning course? Not everyone is familiar with nano learning, so this is a good place to show you our tooltips. This gray question mark, if you hover over it, is going to pop up a box that explains what the information is. So in this case, a nano learning course is a 15 to 45 minute in length and covers one topic in depth. And for each of these items, you can hover over that tooltip and get more information about that field. So I'm going to say no, this is not an nano learning course. The course delivery type. This has been of increasing interest to everyone, with everyone wanting to offer more on-demand courses. A live course is one where the learners and the teacher are present at the same time in the learning space, whether that be face-to-face or online. An on-demand course is a computer-based or other course that the student can access at any time and doesn't involve any interaction with a live instructor. I'm going to make this a live course. The next item is course level. Oh, one note, course delivery type is one of the required fields. Course level is not required. If you hover over these gray question marks, you'll see the description of the different levels, and you can click the item to select them. We encourage you to put this information in, as it will help a member decide whether the course might meet their particular needs. But it is optional. Course credit. So there are two items here. One is the credit type drop-down, so LU or LUHSW, and the number of credits. So this field will allow you to enter pretty much any number of credits over one, but only in increments of 0.25. If you attempt to enter something that's not in one of those increments, you'll get some feedback about what you need to change to make the field operate correctly. These are required fields. You must enter them. I encourage everyone to take a moment when they submit their course and decide whether you're going to submit for LU or HSW. Once it's in the system, we don't change the credit type. We just review it based on the type that you put in here. So if you would like your course reviewed for HSW, you must indicate it here. Language is an optional field. We've selected the top 10 languages by number of people who speak them in the world, but we are happy to add any other language that you might need. Just let us know. Again, this is optional. If you don't put anything there, nothing will show. The final thing is a price. Again, this is optional. You don't have to put anything there. If you don't put anything there, nothing will show. I'm going to fill them out so you can see what it looks like on the screen when they're filled out. So I've clicked Save, and you can see there's information here in the Course at a Glance area. Again, this course level, language, price. If I had left those blank, then there would just be nothing showing there. It would just say course delivery type and the number and type of learning units. You can click the Edit button at this point and go back in and add or change anything you need. If you don't have time to finish the course, you can exit out, and this will still be saved, and you can come back to it later. I'm going to continue on to the About This Course tile. All right, so we've got another pop-up menu. This is your course description. This forms part of what the reviewers read when they're reviewing your attempting to review your course. When we deploy a course catalog, this will also be what a member would read about your course to help them decide whether this is something they're interested in or not. So it should be descriptive enough to provide information to both a potential attendee and our reviewers about what folks will learn in the course without, being excessively long. We'll have another webinar in a week or two that'll talk about writing descriptions and learning objectives in detail. But if you have more questions about this in this webinar, go ahead and use that Q&A pod, and we can answer your questions at the end. So. Hold on one sec. Okay. Yeah. I'm just going to put in some data here. So the description is a required field. The prerequisite knowledge is not a required field. I'm going to put something in there so we can see what it looks like. But this is for cases where you're doing an advanced or specialized course where you want to let a potential attendee know that they should have certain underlying knowledge or a legitimate prerequisite course before taking this particular course. If it doesn't apply to your particular course, you can leave it blank. The HSW justification is also optional. This is a space for providers to give more detailed information about why their course should be approved as HSW. Sometimes the description and learning objectives don't allow quite enough space for the type of description that you'd like to give the reviewers, and this is a place for you to add that extra information. It is not a place to copy your description or learning objectives. We are definitely already reading those. This is a place for any additional information you would like to pass on to us. It is optional. All right, so here we are at the learning objectives. Every course must have 4 learning objectives, and like I said before, we'll be doing a webinar about how to write description and learning objectives a little bit later. But in general, we would say to provide enough information here for both a potential attendee who's looking at your course and trying to determine whether it will meet their needs so that they can tell whether they will, leave the session with useful information or not, and also for our reviewers to assess what you are going to be teaching and what people will walk away with in terms of knowledge. If for whatever reason your course is long, your course has a number of specific things you're going to get to, and you want to be very, let us know about all of them, you can add an additional learning objective. And this, I've seen as many as 10, although I don't think that's always useful. You can certainly add as many as you like to this, and if you change your mind, you can use this button and remove the extra learning objective. So I have deleted the information in Objective 4, and we're going to save. Just imagine this is a situation where you have incomplete course information. For example, a speaker just hasn't given you their 4th learning objective. You can save it. It all stays here, but the exclamation point, the red outline, they remain, letting you know that a required field hasn't been filled out yet. And down at the bottom, there's this gray text that tells you what still needs to be done. So in this case, please enter Learning Objective 4 before submitting the course for review. And so we can go back in, go to Learning Objective 4, fill it in, and save. And you'll see now that that red outline and the exclamation point are gone. All right, the last tile with required information in it is the topics. So the topics are a series of drop-down menus. And when you select an item in the drop-down menu, if it has subcategories, the subcategories will also display. And then you can add any keywords you like, separated by we do recommend that if you're using the keywords, that you don't necessarily need to repeat things that are in your title. That will be part of the general search program, but you try and include associated words that wouldn't necessarily be found directly in your title or even in your description. Once you've filled out, and keywords are not required. Once you've filled out this information, you click Save. And we'll just take a look. Everything in the course at a glance is good. About this course, topics. All right, so this course is ready to submit. You submit a course by going to this Manage Course Status tile. It's going to tell you what status the course is in right now and information about that status. For example, courses in draft status cannot be offered for credit. So we'd like to update that status to submitted pending review. Until you do this, your course is not in the queue to be reviewed. Only once you've changed it to submitted pending review will it go into our course review queue for review and approval. I'm going to go ahead and switch out to an approved course so that I can just very quickly show you this Comments History tab, which is where a reviewer will communicate with you if they return your course and requires more information status, and you need to make an adjustment to your course. So the course status log shows you things like, when you started the course in draft status, and then it marks when you've submitted it, and then when it's been approved. And if a reviewer needs more information, if they've looked at your course and maybe feel Learning Objective 3 needs more detail, then they would enter a comment in here and give you direction, and ask you to make an adjustment to your course. And it would be returned to you and requires more information status, and you would be able to make edits, then return it to submitted status for us to review again. All right. Let me go back to the course index and then back to the dashboard page. So Ramiro, do we have any questions?
Not right now, but one question came up about they missed the first half of the recording. We will have it posted on Provider Resources page.
All right, so that's really all on how to submit a course. Courses are reviewed within, Ramiro, do you want to talk about the course review process really briefly, especially the timeline?
Yeah, sure. So we have people here that I'm one of them that review your courses. We review courses within 10 business days. So we'll go over this in more detail when we in the next webinar. We look at your course description and your learning objectives, and we review them within 10 business days. We will, if we request more information, that's where Catherine said where the history comment is. You have to click a drop-down menu there so that you can see exactly what we're asking for. So that way you, and when you see what we're asking for, you go ahead and update it and you resubmit the course, and so to get reviewed again. So it usually takes about 10 business days from the time you change the course status.
Great, thanks, Ramiro. One thing to remember about this is if you are asked to make a change to your course and resubmit it, that 10-day window starts again. Your course goes back to the back of the queue. So I would recommend that you always attempt to submit your course well in advance of that 10 business day window so that you don't need to have any anxiety about whether the course will be approved on time. All right. Well, if we have no other questions, I'd like to thank everyone for joining us this afternoon. As Ramiro said, the recording will be available for anyone who missed part of the call or would like to have a colleague listen. And, you know, oh, that's the last thing. I wanted to show you what our upcoming webinars are. Here on the CES Provider page on AIA.org is our list of upcoming live webinars for providers. So the next one is April 22nd, How to Write Course Descriptions and Learning Objectives. That'll be our course reviewers talking in detail about what makes a good description and learning objectives, what they look for in order to make your courses pass successfully through the review process. June 24th, we'll talk about HSW, and July 22nd, submitting member attendance. As I mentioned before, you can access any of the PDF resources by clicking into, on the Provider Dashboard page, using that Resources tab and getting the instructions with screenshots and a PDF resource if you'd like it. All right, well, that's all for today. Thanks again for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you at the next event.